This is the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom show, the wake-up call on WCOM LP, Chapelville and Carver, 103.5 on your FM dial, or live streaming at WCOMFM.org. You can also watch the show on the People's Channel after a week's delay on Thursday night at 10 p.m., Friday morning at 6 a.m., or Tuesday at noon. The show will also be available on our YouTube channel, Wilf Wake Up Call. I'm Iris Schwentzer here with our host, Lori Hoyt, and Emily O'Hare on camera. Today our special guest is Amanda Murray.
Thanks, Iris. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention that a few weeks ago, and we promised to mention them again, we had two guys from the Durham Farmers Market on, and they were just wonderful. Bernard Obie, who's an organic farmer from Roxborough, and he's farming 32 acres. And we also had Mike Konvicka, who has does hand-dyed clothes. And it's called Terra Clotha, and it's that dyeing. And we felt afterwards we didn't give Mike quite enough time because he was sort of shy and not wanting to toot his own horn. So we didn't find out till afterwards that it's not just T-shirts, but it's aprons and all baby clothes and all kinds of wonderful things. So we just want to remind everybody it's every Saturday in Durham at the farmers market there, and encourage you to go. And what's particularly nice with their farmers market, it's a farmers market, and right next to it is a craft market, and right next to that is an art market. So if you want to have a great Saturday morning with all kinds of wonderful things to look at and things to buy to eat, and things to eat there's food trucks. I mean, it's a festival. I just wanted to give them another shout out because they were just delightful guests on the show. And now we'll get to today's delightful guest, Amanda Murray, and she is working with Fight for Her, and we're going to hear all about what the Fight for Her is. I think I've got a little headline here. Summer is heating up, and so is Fight for Her. So there's a lot going on, and we're just delighted, Amanda, that you could come.
Thanks, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we took pictures outside. I hope I didn't break her camera before we came in. And so the Fight for Her, how long have you been working with that?
About a year and a half.
Oh,
Yeah.
quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell our listeners what are you fighting for? What's the Fight for Her?
Yeah, so we are working to end Trump's global gag rule. It basically says the U.S. will not provide any foreign aid to any global healthcare organization that even mentions the word abortion. And as you can imagine, it's had a really deadly impact on the lives and healthcare of people around the world. So we are gathering grassroots support, gathering petitions, and spreading awareness about this issue to call on our members of Congress to end that policy by passing the Global HER Act, hence the HER in Fight for Her. It stands for Health, Empowerment, and Rights, and it would reinstate the funding that has been cut from these NGOs and global healthcare organizations who offer abortion counseling, and also make sure that no future president could introduce something like this again by executive order.
Well, so the HER is not just American women, it's women all over the world.
That's right.
Women in war-torn countries, women who have been, because the tragic and horrible thing is that women have become an object in wars, that this is a way to, I guess, to get the enemy, whatever you consider the enemy, absolutely demoralized by raping women. It's been this horrible thing in these more recent times. I think it's happened before, but it's now happening on such a deliberate scale.
Yeah.
And so that these women sometimes are not going to want to carry a baby that's a result of rape, brutal rape very often. And so there's just so, it's just such a tragic and horrible thing that we are interfering that way. And I know it, for quite a while this is not just before Trump, there was some form of that, if I recall correctly.
That's right, yeah. So,
Congress would try to put some limitations on where our foreign aid would go.
I think you might be thinking of the global gag rule has been in effect before. So Ronald Reagan was the first president to implement something like this.
Okay.
And then every Democrat president since him has rescinded it, and every Republican president since him has re-implemented it. However, Trump's version of the global gag rule actually expands on the impact.
Okay.
So previous iterations specifically targeted family planning organizations who counsel on abortion. Trump's version targets any global healthcare organization. So let's say I'm working to stop the spread of the Zika virus or treat malaria, tuberculosis, HIV/AIDS, any of those services. If my patient came to me asking for, if I was a healthcare provider treating any of those things, and a patient came to me requesting a referral for an abortion, and I provided that to him, I would lose health funding from the U.S.
Well, so good old Trump, he manages to take something that's already bad and figures out how to make it worse. That is just terrible.
To put that in numeric terms, I think it cut something like $550 million from the U.S. budget in previous iterations, and Trump's version cut foreign aid to reproductive health care organizations and global healthcare organizations who offer abortion counseling by something like $8.8 billion. It's the estimated amount.
Oh, that's horrible. That is horrible. And I think, a lot of people, you just don't hear much about that.
Yeah.
And so Fight for Her, thank goodness. Are there other organizations that are allies in this work with Fight for Her?
Yeah, absolutely. We've worked closely with North Carolina Now, with the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, with local Democratic groups, the ACLU locally, and Carolina Abortion Fund locally on spreading awareness here around, grassroots support for ending the global gag rule and supporting the Global Her Act.
Yeah, I remember in the former form of it, I remember reading at one point that we were sort of our allies with Saudi Arabia, who is known for its way it treats women, and also the Vatican. So it was, with the ones who are the most regressive in terms of women's health policies. And so I'm sure we those are some of our same allies today, but because we are such a rich nation, the impact of what we decide unfortunately has much greater impact than anybody else. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when did he institute that gag rule?
It was January 23rd, 2017. So it was almost immediately after. One of the first actions he took in office was signing this executive order.
Really? So they had that all planned.
Yeah.
This was not one of his off-the-cuff impulsive acts.
Yeah.
It was
and we have an evocative picture, I won't call it a great picture, on our website of him actually signing it, and Mike Pence is standing over his shoulder.
Oh, yes. Mike Pence.
You can just see it as part of a larger structure of attack on reproductive rights. It's a very evocative image of him in a room surrounded by cisgender men signing away the rights of women and non-binary folks and trans folks' healthcare.
Yes, so all those older white men, mostly white men.
Mostly white men.
who are so concerned about women's health. So, well, good for you. How did you get involved with Fight for Her?
So a couple summers ago, I was doing a fellowship with Planned Parenthood. They had a month-long program to train organizers. It was very intensive month-long mini campaign to just sort of train young people how to engage in grassroots activism for the purpose of reproductive rights, and I fell in love with it. The lead organizer on that campaign let me know about the Fight for Her, and I got involved that way. It was back when I was living in New Jersey, and then I got the job for this campaign and came down to North Carolina.
So
it's
you're
where I grew up, so it was great to come back home.
So you grew up in North Carolina,
Mhm.
but you went to New Jersey for school?
I went after I graduated to pursue a career in acting in New York.
In acting in New York. How did
And
that
instead
go?
I found activism, and it was
Another kind of
wonderful.
acting. Huh?
Yeah.
So how was New York? Was it pretty daunting, or?
There were parts of it that were, but it gave me this basis of organizing that has been just tremendous and empowering as I continue to work with the Fight for Her campaign.
So it started with Planned Parenthood in New Jersey, though,
Mhm.
and then got sent here.
Mhm.
So is North Carolina? I guess New Jersey's. I would imagine that their rules on reproductive rights are more advanced than they are in North Carolina.
I would imagine so too. I'm not as familiar with the local reproductive rights rules. I was working on protecting the ACA on that mini campaign in New Jersey, so we were also working at a federal level. But I do know that shortly before I left, they were passing laws and signing executive orders to protect equal pay for women, and I would imagine that.
Yeah. So this is like more fertile ground more of a need for
Exactly right.
staunch
Exactly right.
activists. So are you working alone, or do you have a group working with you?
So there are 10 of me across the country.
Across the whole country? Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm the organizer for the Research Triangle. We also have an organizer named Trey Gibson in Charlotte. And then we're also in Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and New Hampshire.
Okay, so not in Alabama and Georgia. They probably would like to get more dedicated people
Right,
like
yeah.
yourself. Yeah. So this is a regular job that, and so you've been doing it for, I think you told me, about a year and a half?
Yes.
And so what do you think you're getting really good at it now?
I think I'm getting pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always more to learn, and the wonderful thing about grassroots organizing is that the more people that you bring on to help you with it, the better your impact is, the more you can demonstrate to representatives just how much people care about reproductive health.
So have you gone to our representatives here in North Carolina? Have you?
That's right, yes, I have, yeah.
So which ones did you get to go to?
So we've talked with staff from David Price's office and from Tom Tillis's office on multiple occasions. And in addition to that, every year Population Connection Action Fund, the organization that's running the Fight for Her campaign, hosts a conference in DC where they bring about 300 students from across the country to DC to learn from international experts on reproductive health and to train them on lobbying. And then there's a full day of lobbying meetings with many of the different representatives from North Carolina, including Richard Burr and Tom Tillis and David Price.
So the organization that's funding you is the Population Fund?
Population Connection Action Fund.
Population Connection Action Fund. So they're the umbrella that.
Yeah, and their main project is the Fight for Her campaign.
Okay, so they did get to meet them with like Richard Burr, the absent person that we never hear.
That's right. Yeah, we met with the staff of Tillis and and Senator Burr, yeah.
And how did that go? Were they receptive?
I mean, they, as usual, give their lines of, you know, we think that the senator will not be supportive of this due to his stance on etc. But thank you for coming in.
Yeah, okay.
Very polite.
So they brush you off.
Yeah.
And how about with David Price?
David Price, we've had wonderful meetings with him and his staff. He, in fact, came and spoke at our Health Empowerment and Rights Summit last year. He was our keynote speaker. He's been very engaged with the campaign.
That's really good to hear, yeah. So, I mean, you know, I think he's a good person, but sometimes we get frustrated and wish he would take more of a bully pulpit, you know, and really come out with strongly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's good to hear
Yeah.
that he was really supportive and
Yeah.
encouraging.
Yeah, and there's so much that we can do at the grassroots level to let our representatives, including Representative Price, know that it's safe to come out and say, like, yes, I'm in support of reproductive rights. And when representatives who are in these districts that are gerrymandered to be very safe for him, right, come out and speak strongly in support of reproductive rights or any issue that we care about, it lets other people in Congress know that it's a popular stance.
So they want to know that you're going to have their back, and that you've done the grassroots work, and that they're not going to be in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of times they do not want to lead the parade. If the parade looks pretty good, they'll jump in.
That's so true, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's our job on the grassroots level to make the parade look really good.
So, well, this is very, very interesting, and because there's so much going on now with any rights that we thought we had that was signed, sealed, and delivered in the last several years, as we all know, only too sadly, they're chipping away at and doing everything to undermine, diminish, on their road to trying to destroy, and we're sort of hanging on, and it's very, very scary times, especially with the lineup in the Supreme Court right now. So I guess one of the big hopes is in the next election that there's some more, since the Republicans seem to have made this their battle cry, being against women having reproductive rights, or they want to control their reproductive rights the way they want them, that it just seems like one of the big hopes would be that the next election does make some changes.
It's definitely a key issue that, and you hear it in the Democratic presidential candidates, their lineups and their debates coming out and speaking about the Hyde Amendment in particular, the cuts to Title X funding. You know, we would love to hear the presidential candidates say more about international aid and repealing the global gag rule and ending the Helms Amendment. But it's definitely something that on the national stage is being discussed a lot.
Yeah, remind us what the Hyde Amendment is.
Yeah, so the Hyde Amendment prohibits U.S. funds domestically from going to abortion care. Its counterpart internationally is the Helms Amendment, named for North Carolina's Jesse Helms. And it says that no U.S. foreign aid funding foreign assistance will go to abortion care, specifically saying, you know, that it shouldn't be used for performance of abortion as a method of family planning, or to motivate or coerce any person to practice abortion. But it's been enforced as an all-out ban on U.S. funds going to abortion access.
So U.S. funds domestically, the Hyde Amendment.
The Hyde Amendment is domestic, the domestic version of it, and its sister amendment in the foreign aid sphere is the Helms Amendment.
So the Hyde Amendment is in force still.
Yes, both of those are still in place.
So that's where they were trying to make sure that poor women could not get help from the government if they felt that they needed an abortion. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So that's still in effect,
That's still in effect.
so that it takes private fundraising to have that happen?
Yes, yeah. So it means that no U.S. aid will go to abortion access. And I would imagine that it takes a private fundraising on the domestic level for folks to access abortion, or an insurance policy that covers it. But those are
Yeah,
few
well,
and
that's
far
where
between.
Obamacare,
Yeah.
got around that.
Mhm.
Makes me realize why they're fighting so hard, for many reasons, yeah.
Mhm.
So you were trying, I think I read in the information you sent me that you were getting petitions signed?
Yes, yeah. So we've gotten in just the Triangle area, 4,985. And we're
Oh.
so close to 5,000. It's so exciting.
I am shocked because I thought I read that you got 600.
Just this summer.
Okay.
So in the time that I've been here, in the last year and a half, it's been nearly 5,000, and this summer, just since May, it's been upwards of 600, and we're so excited for classes to start back up at UNC and to
Yeah.
continue to engage with UNC students on these issues and gather petitions and public support from them.
So when UNC is in session, I would hope that you have a pretty good response with the
Oh yeah.
students.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you'll be hanging out on campus a lot,
Mhm.
and you'll have a table at the pit, or how do you do that?
Yeah, sometimes we have a table, sometimes it's just us and our clipboards, but I've got a wonderful team of UNC student activists who have been training this summer on grassroots organizing skills in the summer of her Activist Institute. And
That's wonderful.
so they're ready to take on leadership this fall and really help develop leaders among their classmates as well.
Oh, that's great. So how many went this summer to get training?
So it's a really core group. I've got 4 dedicated leaders this summer who are going through these classroom trainings on different grassroots organizing skills, from recruitment and petitioning to putting on media events to challenging abortion stigma and bias. All kinds of wonderful trainings, and they're going to apply those skills in implementing the Health Empowerment and Rights Summit coming up on September 7th.
So there's a big summit coming up, and we'll get into that. So this is what it's all sort of aiming towards. So these 4 core people, so will they be training other people, like to have will that be like 4 teams?
Yeah, it's not quite set up as teams as of yet. They've been my team this summer.
Your
And,
support team.
Yes, and as we move into the fall, they'll be taking on leadership of their own teams as well.
That's what, when you said
Absolutely.
leadership, I was thinking that would be
Yeah.
that would be great. You multiply the woman power to go out and
Absolutely right.
deal with these barriers to
Mhm.
getting the help that you need.
Mhm.
You know, it's I still don't understand with the Republican Party why they talk about caring so much about liberty, but when it comes to women, they want to just be in our bedroom, interfere with us and our doctors. I mean,
Mhm.
it just boggles the mind how much hypocrisy, and it's like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Liberty, yes.
It does sound pretty contradictory.
It's very, very. So, well, that's great to know. And is there any counterpart at Duke University?
Duke University, because it's a private university, it's been a little more difficult to organize on. We do have some students who are strong supporters of the Fight for Her campaign at Duke, but it's been a little harder to engage with their larger student population. due to rules about where you can petition, etc.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but thank goodness for UNC then, that
Mhm.
it's been pretty receptive and supportive. Are there some of the faculty are pretty supportive of that issue?
Yeah, I've met some faculty who have signed on petitions and
Mm-hmm.
given us, 2 thumbs up. But I haven't been able to bridge those relationships as much as I would love to. I'm sure that being, such a strong medical university with such a strong public health program, there are some really great experts at UNC that I would love to learn more from about these issues. Like I said, my focus is the grassroots activism part of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are people in those buildings right over there that know so much about the impact of the global gag rule on the ground and would be able to inform us in really exciting ways. I just haven't been able to connect with them yet.
Yeah, what isn't there like the population, Carolina Population?
Carolina Population Center, right? That's a
Yeah.
thing. I haven't been able to connect with them either. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make a note.
I think.
Do you know anyone there, Laura?
I think they're the ones who collect a lot of data and yeah. Well, any way that we can help. I mean, obviously as women, we're want to be very supportive to you, and that's why we're having you on this program. But with those petitions, so we'd be glad to take them around to different things too. If you have any extra, and if not, we'll get up with you, or you get up with us and get us some.
There's actually a way to sign the petition electronically as well.
See, this is where I fall down. Iris and
We
Emily are much
We
better
could
than
pass it on.
you.
That
Tell us
info.
how to
It's
do it.
very simple.
Okay.
Grab your smartphone
Yes.
or any phone
Yes.
that has texting. It
Yeah.
does not even have to be a smartphone. And you text the words fight, NC.
NC.
Mm-hmm. That's fight, and then there's a space, and then NC.
Oh, space.
Mm-hmm. There's a space. To 52886.
Say two.
I'll say it again.
Yeah.
52886.
Okay. So fight space NC 52886.
Yeah.
So if you go do that, and after NC, is there a space before the numbers probably?
So the number that you text it to is 52886. So when you're putting the contact in, who to text it to, 52886, and then the body of the message is fight NC. And then you hit send.
So I touched it.
I lost it.
So first you do the number.
Mm-hmm.
So you first go do those numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and then something pops up.
You know how to send a text message?
I know how to send a text message. Yes, I do.
So you open up your messaging. You write a new message.
Maybe she'll put it on camera.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You go 52886. Yeah, there's you text 52886, and then you text fight space NC, and then you hit send. And the robot will text you back immediately saying, hey, thanks for signing a Fight for Her petition.
Oh,
Just a couple more steps to make it official. What is your first and last name? So you'll follow the instructions there.
okay.
And by the end of it, you've signed a petition.
Oh my goodness. It's okay. I
We're
just
in a
got
new
a
era.
signal that this is when we can take a station break and catch our breath, and we'll make a few announcements and come back. We're talking to Amanda Murray, who is working very hard with Fight for Her, and she's getting us all inspired to want to join Fight for Her too.
This is Wilf's Wake Up Call on WCOM LP, Chapel Hill and Carver, 103.5 FM. You can stream us live at WCOMFM.org.
Okay, we have a couple of announcements. I'll go first, and then Iris is going to make one. This wonderful program is coming to you over WCOM FM in downtown Carrboro. And it's a low-power station, and it's a community station. And we are just so grateful to have the opportunity to be on this station. And we video it, and then we get it on another community station, the People's Channel, and we also get it on YouTube. So WCOM, our mother place here, Carrboro and Chapel Hills Community Radio Station is going to have a fundraiser, which they do very rarely. This is all volunteers. And they're going to have performers donating their time. All tips will benefit the nonprofit radio station. It's going to be Saturday, this is the most important part. This Saturday, August 17th at 7 p.m. at the Kraken, Rockin' the Kraken. It's a very charming little bar about 5 miles from west of Carrboro, 54 West in the White Cross community. And if you're going out 54 and it's by one of those new lights they've put up, and it's set back down a little one-story charming wood building, and it's a great little bar. And they're going to have 6 bands, I think. They're going to have Rod Abernathy. I recognize he's been around. He's a great musician. Wyatt Easterling, another one, Too Much Fun. Karen Novi, Stan Lewis, and the Law Breaking Revelers. It's going to be a rockin' night, and all of the tips will go to the radio station. So this is a nice little bar, and they are known for their great music. People come from all around to go to the Kraken. So if you want to help out WCOM and you want to have some fun, go there Saturday night, 7 o'clock on. Okay, and I think yours has a...
Okay, on Tuesday, August 20th at 7 p.m., Peace and Justice, a celebration of Sam is Down for 1 year.
Yeah, it's 1 year, so it's gonna be at the Peace and Justice Plaza. And what time again?
7 p.m.
7 p.m., so it'll be getting cooler by that time. And we hope we could be positive. Trying to be positive. And so think about that too. So that's a lot going on as usual in Chapel Hill. I'm sure there's some other things that we wish we would have mentioned, but there's always so much happening. I just do want to mention that Hillsborough has been in the paper lately. They've been having some Confederate lovers marching around town with their guns, and some people are feeling pretty intimidated and aggravated with it, so they had a big protest a week ago Saturday with people coming in the town to really be supportive of wanting to have their town be a peaceful place. And I think this past Saturday they had another, just a lot of progressives and people of all different kinds who really care about their community. A lot of these ones who are coming in marching around with their guns are from out of town, and creating some resentment and wishing that they would find something else to do with themselves. So keep paying attention to Hillsborough. That quiet little town is having its share of race issues and gun issues, and wishing that it didn't have any of that going on. So we're back to our guest, who is Amanda Murray, and so we're going to do that again. Because we'd like to get a lot of people signing this petition, and with this newfangled way they do it, instead of going around and just signing your name, you get your phone out, and even I think I could do it, so maybe show it again on camera. She's going to show it.
So you pull out your phone, you create a new message to the number 52886, and you text the words "fight" space not the word space, a space bar, NC. And then you hit send. And then it'll ask for your first and last name and some other information. And once you've filled out that information, you've signed a petition.
So I hope lots of people will do that, and I know I'm gonna try it.
We will.
We'll try it after
We'll do
the
it.
show. And so that's great. So there's 5,000 petitions now, and just 600 this summer, where there was not much going on with the campus. And so let's hope with the new year we'll get a couple thousand more. And these petitions go where?
So this batch of the 600 that we've gathered this summer, we're bringing to Senator Tillis's office. We had previously been focusing on the Democrat-controlled House, but we got our victory this summer when the House passed a spending bill that included the language of the Global HER Act, so it included a repeal of the Global Gag Rule.
It did.
It did.
Oh,
That passed
wait a
the
minute.
House.
Let's celebrate
Let's
that.
celebrate that, right?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so due in large part to public pressure, and I know that David Price has a role on the Appropriations Committee, and so he's got a lot of say in these spending and the way the budget works out. So we're congrats to our activists, and we're really grateful to have David Price here. So since that victory, we're shifting our focus to pressuring Senator Tillis to let him know that the people in his community and in his state care very deeply about reproductive rights, and if he doesn't support, he loses his seat next year.
So this is a good time to get him to pay attention, because he is
Absolutely.
So Burr is not up for re-election.
No, he is not.
Yeah, that makes
He
a
will
big
be up
difference
in
whether they pay
2022.
attention. Yeah,
That's when his seat is up.
yeah. So there's progress being made. It just takes constant work, doesn't it?
Mhm. Yeah.
But I mean, at least it's encouraging to know that things have moved in a good direction in some ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if our political landscape could change further, it could even move faster.
That's right.
Yeah. So how are they doing in these other states that they're working on?
Wonderfully.
They're
Yeah.
getting good responses too?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really encouraging. I mean, it just makes you feel so much better to know that some people are paying attention. And, we know that things are tough for women in this country, but when I think about women in these other countries, it's
Absolutely.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Absolutely heartbreaking. So, okay, let's get back to this summit. So tell us more about this. Where, when, who?
Yeah, so it'll be a full day conference that we're hosting here in Chapel Hill.
Oh, it's right here.
That
Okay.
will be offering trainings from national and international experts on reproductive health, as well as workshops from local community groups on electoral organizing, getting a team of activists ready to take on the fight in 2020.
So electoral work and fight for her work. So this is going to be in Chapel Hill. Do you have a location in Chapel Hill?
We're holding off on announcing the location simply because we want to make sure that this is a safe event for reproductive rights supporters, and we know that there are many anti-choice folks out there, so we're holding back on the location. But if you want more information, you can follow us on social media, and there's a link to apply, and we'd follow up with you personally.
So how do you follow you? I know this is a dumb question, but how do you follow you on social media?
Yeah,
Just
so
go to Fight for Her?
we're on both Twitter and Instagram, and the handle is the same in both places. It's at Fight, the number 4, Her, NC.
Her NC. So
And the links to the application for the summit are on both of those sites.
So is there a date?
It's on September 7th.
September 7th?
And there's spaces are limited, and we're accepting applications on a rolling basis. So if you are interested, fill out that application as soon as possible.
Okay, so September 7th, and I imagine it starts, what, about 9 o'clock in the morning?
9:30, yeah, 9:30, 10.
So it's all day,
Mm-hmm.
say 9 to 4 or 5,
Mm-hmm.
and where is to be disclosed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay, and how much?
it's completely free, and lunch is provided.
Oh, hey.
Okay.
Free plus lunch.
Mhm.
So it's very enticing, and particularly then for students, that'll
Yeah.
be really an encouragement, yeah. So the students are back by September 7th, aren't they? Will
Yes.
they come back the end of August?
They're coming back next week, classes start.
Already?
Already,
Okay.
we're there.
Okay, you can't wait, I bet.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I thought you looked pretty perky. That's encouraging. So this summit is something that's been worked towards. So who's going to be doing training? Is it going to be just you, or who's all got trainers coming in from that population group? Or?
We do have a trainer coming in from our national team. We also have training in the works with IPASS, who is an organization that does international reproductive health work that's based in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, IPASS is still around.
They're still around. They're still
Yeah,
doing
they
wonderful
used to
things.
do they still make these little home abortion kits that they sent out to third world countries?
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, gosh, I haven't heard about them in quite a while. They used to be over near the and somewhere I sort of knew where they were. Oh, well,
They're
that's
still headquartered here in Chapel Hill, so
Good
we're
for
working
them.
with them on a workshop and a training.
yeah, they've been doing that for years.
Mhm.
International work, yeah, and they probably have a lot of contacts.
Mhm.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so there'll be some good training going on in training about Fight for Her and how to organize grassroots, and also about electoral.
That's right. We want to make
Activism.
sure that the students in particular know about the new voter ID laws that are coming in North Carolina, and any of these gerrymandering factors. Just to have a student body and a group of young folks who are really educated and really willing to take on that fight.
Yeah, so because it's been so up and down, I'm not sure. It's been that you're gonna have to have an ID, that you weren't gonna have to, and I don't. Do you know where it is right now?
I'm not an expert.
We'll be
in
finding
that,
out.
But we'll definitely want to work with other organizations
Well-
locally to make sure that this is something that the UNC students and anyone else who wants to attend this summit can be educated on, and help share that information with people in their lives.
And the reason it's been back and forth is because there's been court
Yeah.
things, and we'd win, and then it was an appeal, and so that's where it's been sort of this up and down. And great, so it'd be wonderful to know that people are getting training, and I'm sure all kinds of organizations, the NAACP and WILF, and a lot of organizations are going to, Democratic women, Democratic men, everybody's going to be a lot of people standing on street corners with clipboards coming up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is exciting.
Mhm.
That we maybe have a chance to make things better
Mhm.
for this issue and many other issues. Yeah. So, is there anything that I'm forgetting to ask you about that you want to reiterate, or we got the summit?
We've got the summit. Talked about what the global gag rule is and why it's so horrendous.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think that's I think we could mention that besides the global gag rule, that so many of our states have been pulling back on the ability to get abortions. I think it's really very discouraging. I think in some states it might be like one place.
That's right, yeah.
And I'm not up in which states. I think it probably tends more to be sort of southern and western states, but I just know it's been very disheartening. You know, it was something when we finally got Roe versus Wade, it was like things are gonna go upward and forward, and where we're going backwards after all these years.
Yeah, it's not quite that linear is what we're finding, right?
No, it's not.
And I think that, you know, one of the reasons I'm so motivated to organize on the global gag rule in particular, since it's something that's been back and forth for so long, and since the people impacted by foreign aid had no say, right, in who gets to be in office. They're not citizens, they're not voters, and one man with the stroke of a pen cuts their access to healthcare in tremendously significant and life-changing ways. And you know, this is a testing ground for how to implement restrictions on abortion access and reproductive health care policy, because the people affected can't talk back, you know, aren't going to risk the jobs of the people in office. So it's so important to me that we as citizens of this country know the impact that we have overseas and make sure that we're taking action about it, knowing that this is all a testing ground for how policies will be enacted here too, right? That we wouldn't have these cuts to Title X funding if they hadn't figured out how to do that through cutting foreign aid to reproductive health care organizations who counsel on abortion.
Tell us again what Title X, what the...
So, you might have heard of it as the domestic gag rule. It's cuts to Title X, any organization domestically, specifically targeting Planned Parenthood, who counsels on abortion, has all these new stipulations about no Title X funding going to organizations who counsel on abortion. I'm not as fluent in how the domestic gag rule is being implemented because it's very complicated how they're going to actually do it. But it's something that, you know, they wouldn't have had the resources to enact, the motivation to, the logistics of it without having implemented a similar policy for a few generations now.
So that, yeah, so Planned Parenthood has had so many, and they've been so courageous. They have kept the fight up, you know, and they've made the point that when they're trying to cut their funding, that they do so much else besides abortion, that they're one of the only go-to places for a lot of poor women, or women who are working class women. You know, it's just unconscionable when they're doing that. And so some of these battles they're winning, and some they have to still keep struggling with. So that's what Title X is. I wasn't sure what it referred to.
That's right.
That domestic gag rule, telling doctors, you know, how they're supposed to do their job as a doctor, and again, the incongruity of talking about liberty and freedom and then trying to interfere in something so personal and intimate as between a woman and her doctor. And you wonder if they are doing anything coming between a man and his doctor, you know, how much of an uproar there would be then. Yeah, if that should happen. Oh no, you cannot have Viagra. You can't give any information about that. It's not good for the world or whatever. I mean, it's just.
Yeah. And this is the target, you know, is abortion access. But men and trans folks and non-binary people are losing access to healthcare facilities when, you know, you prohibit doctors from talking about abortion access, when you cut funds to foreign aid. Clinics close, people lose their jobs, they cut different services. They increase prices on their services to make up for the funding loss, both domestically and abroad. So the organization that we have, or that I know the most about, is called Family Health Options of Kenya. And
In Kenya, the country?
mhm, yeah, and you can kind of think of it as like the Planned Parenthood for many areas of Kenya.
Mhm.
And they, under Trump's expanded global gag rule, had to cut all rural services, which was serving something like 76,000 people,
Oh,
and on an annual basis. They ended those rural outreach. They had to close several of their clinics. This affects people, it does get between men and their doctors, is what I was trying to say. You know, it's, the target is abortion access, but who's actually impacted is men, women, children, non-binary folks, trans folks, everyone.
yeah, that's what affects one affects everybody. You know, when you're interfering with family planning, that affects fathers, that affects mothers, and the repercussions affect the culture, you know, all the community as a whole. And just like with Medicare, Medicaid expansion,
Absolutely.
that affects all these rural areas. These rural hospitals are having to close. So that you know, that you do one bad thing, and the repercussions, like that ripple effect, goes and affect many people in communities. And yeah, so Kenya, and I know with Africa, that's where with the Congo there's been, you know, some horrendous stories coming out of there about women. And I remember seeing a documentary on the news with this wonderful African doctor who was trying to repair some of these women's bodies from, you know, this horrible, brutal rape. And there's just, you know, there's just so much, and they've cut funding, or even threatened to cut funding with this heartbreaking and necessary medical work is just so unconscionable. And well, good for, you know, your group and the groups that are working to counteract that, and thank God for Planned Parenthood. That's where I think you started your journey, right?
Yeah, that's where I learned a little bit about how it's done, and I got a taste for it. Now I can't stop.
Yeah. No, thank God for people like you who have this, you know, dedication and enthusiasm and energy to go and try to get people to understand, so that I think you're right, then that puts pressure on those who can make these votes and hold all these people's lives in their hands. So yeah, how are we doing on time? We've got about 2 more minutes.
Oh, wow.
A minute and a half, and we close at about 5. So I guess any last minute thing, I guess just to tell people to keep the summit in mind.
Yeah, definitely look
to-
out for us on social media to apply to the summit. It's going to be a fantastic event and really launch us into gearing up for how we're going to make a change on 2020.
Yeah, so that's going to be September 7th. It's going to be an all-day summit here in Chapel Hill, and you can find out more information by going to social media. For those who do that and know how to do that, to go to Twitter and Instagram. And can people email you also?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, well good, that sounds like something even I can do. So how can they do that?
Yeah, so my email address is amanda.murray, that's MURRAY, at populationconnection.org.
.org. Okay, Amanda.Murray, and Murray is MURRAY. Amanda.Murray at populationconnection.org, and then they can email you directly. Okay, that's so that you've got many ways to get more information. You go to Instagram and Twitter, and you can email Amanda Murray, who's our guest, directly. And keep that summit in mind, but also just that petition. Let's just one more time do that petition. Go to 52886, and then go to Fight and See, and then it'll pop up more instructions like putting your name or a few other pieces of information.
That's right.
And that will be your signed petition.
You've got it by now.
I got it written down, and I'm gonna remember it, and I'm gonna do it.
Right.
And if I can't do it, if I get stuck, I'm gonna.
Then I'll get you a
I'm
pen.
gonna- So we got many, many ways to help Amanda in her work, for us to take some responsibility, because this affects all of us, and we particularly as women are particularly motivated to want to be supportive. And so we got the summit, we got email, we got Instagram, we got all these ways to pay attention and to get that, help build up your petition so that.
I know, we're just 15 more to 5,000. That's all I need.
Just we're so close.
We're so close.
Thank you, Amanda Murray, for coming to Women's International League for Peace and Freedom's radio TV show.
Happy to. Thank you.